Good morning, folks. It's Tuesday, July 29th, 2025. Welcome to the Morning Edit. This is going to be a short show that I'm going to try to do weekly, kind of inspired by Tim Kaine's style of videos and Rob Pyer's The Cause, which he does a Tuesday segment over morning coffee, which I think is really cool. The point of this is to let you guys know where I'm at on my various projects and kind of share my thoughts on those, and hopefully as we get more people engaging, maybe I can answer some of your questions. Right now I don't have a question, so I'm just going to tell you what I've been reading. Lately I've been kind of on and off with Stephen Erickson's Bauchelain and Corbel Brooch. I finished Blood Follows, which is the first of 3 novels in that paperback. And I'm on, Laughter at Lee's End. Oh, The Lees of Laughter's End. And The Healthy Dead is the third one. They're all about 100 pages long. And while it still has the artistic bend of Erickson's writing, they're much simpler stories. They're a lot easier to follow, and I've been having a hard time with denser books lately. I just have too much going on. I also finished Globetrotting, which was the impetus of my most successful video ever. It's a tiny little book. I mean, it's literally tiny. It fits in my pocket, and it's only 150 pages. But it's one of those that you need to digest slowly. The editor, Duncan Minshall, definitely did not intend for you to just blast through that, and the material doesn't really lend to that being enjoyable. So I only took it about... Sometimes it was one entry, sometimes it was half an entry if it was like kind of a longer one. Most of the time I was reading like 2 or 3 in a sitting, waiting in a waiting room before bed. It was a really good collection for that. When I began this channel, I was doing a series called Story a Week, which I very quickly realized was not a sustainable model, and it really wasn't doing that great. Like, series don't do very good on YouTube, so I didn't want to waste my time with stuff that took forever to make, that nobody was going to watch. But the good thing is it did hold me accountable, and I came up with a pretty good system for submissions. The basis of that is the 100 rejection goal, which you want to have 100 rejection letters by the end of the year. Right now, I am at 27 rejections, which is well behind... it's well behind my goal. It's not because I've been getting accepted so much. It's because I haven't been sending out submissions. I just am, honestly, I'm not very interested. I don't really need other people to tell me that I'm good. And now I've decided to go to business school instead of another writing degree. So I don't really even need the publications for like getting into a good school because it doesn't matter. That being said, 27 rejections. I've put out about 35. Some of them I'm still waiting to hear back on. I got my first accepted manuscript. It was a little tiny poem with an online blog called View from Atlantis. So that should actually be launching by the time you see this video. That is my first accepted submission in almost 2 years. I did a really big spree back at the end of 2023, and all the things I've had published happened in that little stint. And I think my experience there really skewed the way I think about this stuff, because I've now talked with several, older writers who are very successful in publishing. I had an interview with Matthias Diaz, and he is an impressive fella. He's in his 80s, and he's been writing for about 10 years, but he was an engineer, he was a lawyer, and then he, as he retired, got into fiction writing, and he has published over 200 stories with magazines. Like, not self-published, like these people liked his stuff. And one of those was with The Arcanist, and I did an interview with him. I think you should read it. I'll put it down in the description. But him and some other people that I've spoken with, their secret is tenacity. It's putting the work in and just sending stuff out all the time. This means you're writing enough stories to have volume, and it also means that you're not giving up. That being said, I do have another story that I just wrote. It's a fantasy story inspired by my time at Mammoth Cave last year on vacation. And, what is it? Utsi the Caveman. Utsi the Iceman. I saw a great video, Tasting History, where he reconstructed his final meal. I thought that was so cool. So I combined those two inspirations and turned it into a story called Seed of the Gods, which right now I sent it specifically to one magazine I thought would really like it. It's definitely more of a sword and sorcery, and they take a sample and they asked for the full manuscript. So I'm kind of like in the second stage where I'm crossing my fingers and hope they take it. So don't get discouraged. Keep submitting your work if you're submitting writing. I literally say yes or no to people every day, and I got my first yes in almost 2 years. So it's okay. I also wanted to talk about What Lies Below, which I have called my first book in previous videos, and Ashen Rider, which I've called my second book. And now it's more like What Lies Below is my first and second book, and Ashen Rider is my third. And I wanted to discuss why I decided to take my big 400-page fantasy book I've been working on for 5 years and turn it into 2 books to become a duology. The main thing is math. I think, examining the publishing industry, I'm not interested in writing to market, but I am interested in presenting what I write in a way that is sellable. And big books are out from what I'm seeing. And it makes sense with our attention spans dwindling and phones taking over the world. It makes sense that people would be more attracted to short books. I mean, I'm pretty much... I still struggle with like YouTube on my phone. I have to constantly police myself, but I wouldn't say I'm addicted to screens by any means. And I still like shorter books because I just kind of lead a full life. I don't like the word busy because a lot of my busy time where I don't have time for other things is my resting, where I'm doing nothing, which is just as important as, actually doing things and being productive. But yeah, so it doesn't really leave a lot of time, especially in months like July where I have big projects for work and the Arcanist going on at the same time. Small books appeal to me, and I consider myself an intellectual. So I think like the average reader who doesn't read for a living might also appreciate shorter books. So I split What Lies Below into 2 smaller books. One's about 180 pages, the other's just over 200. And it didn't actually require all that much. Honestly, I think it is a stronger story presented in one package. But there's a lot of benefits to splitting it up. The drawback is I didn't write it to be a duology. I wrote it to be one book that then gets continued onward for 3 more books. And that's really the only downside. The upside is, with mild adjustments, I have a pretty decent duology that is self-contained, it has an ending, and it's open for expansion, but it's not like a cliffhanger where you're going to be super pissed off when you get to the end of it. I think it's a very satisfying wrap-up ending. And what I didn't want, releasing a big fantasy book, I call it the big fantasy book, the big giant fantasy book series. Look at the Wheel of Time, 15 books, Malazan, 10 books. Those authors, that was a different time that these books were coming out. And like people like Erickson have millions of people who will buy his books. But for someone like me, who, I'm going to be lucky if I reach 50 people with my books. So it doesn't make financial sense to write another book, 3 giant books that take years and years and years to finish. It doesn't make financial sense to release those and, if 50 people bought What Lies Below, 40 people maybe read it, 30 finished it, and 20 enjoyed it enough to buy book 2. And then you apply that math, it just compounds every book onward in the series. So while I don't really care so much about making money, I also want to set up my work for success. I want it to reach people. By splitting it into 2 books, I've eliminated the big giant book 1 problem. What I see all the time is people spend all this time on a book 1, and they put it out, and the math I brought up earlier, but also like it took me 5 years to write What Lies Below. It will probably be more like 2 years now that I know how to write books to do the follow-up. But what I don't want is a book one that goes unanswered for multiple years. I want to be able to present out work and here is a complete experience in one go. And then now, since the books are already written, I just move some stuff around. I have to write another prologue and another epilogue. But I moved one of the titles over to the second half of What Lies Below, so you'll have The Heretic's Reflection, What Lies Below, Those Left Behind. That's a complete experience. And then I can take my time on the would-be second part to that story, because I want to reward returning readers, but I don't want to prohibit people from reading, thinking they have to get through certain things to get to the newest book. I still want people to read my books even after I've released book one. All right, I have to get back to work. I had the idea in my head that this little casual discussion would take me 5 minutes to record. I'm so mean to myself. That is not realistic in any sense of the word. If you enjoy what I do, the summer 2025 issue of the Literary Fantasy Magazine is out now. You can buy the subscription and get both books in one fell swoop, or you could just buy it on Amazon if you only want the summer issue. I also have a Substack where I post all of my writing advice video scripts in article form. They tend to be a little bit cleaner and the information is better presented there. Those are free. I'll also be posting blog posts about more adjacent things about creativity in general, and I also have several pages of video game analysis. Like, I have 50 pages written about Fallout 1997 and the narrative of that game. I haven't done anything with that, so I think I'm going to be starting with a Fallout retrospective in written form instead of... The intention was to do one of those big 20-hour videos. Let's be real, I don't have the time for that. So I've already written all this stuff, so it wouldn't be much of a stretch to kind of release those in segments and clean up the text and make it good. So there's going to be stuff like that. And just my opinions about life and living creatively, because we've chosen a hard road, and it's worth talking about. Anyway, folks, I hope you're having a great day. Hope you're having a great morning. And enjoy your coffee. This is the first good cup of coffee I've made in like a week. So I'm going to enjoy that.